Here's a dilemma. What do you do if you plan to get out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning to go hike 11 miles and climb a 13,000 foot mountain? But it's 1:30 in the morning, you haven't slept at all, and you can't sleep. Well, if you're smart, you probably would scrap your plans and do that hike another day. But if you're me, you just get up early and go do the hike anyways on no sleep.
Shut the snack up! Shut the snack up!
Chris, honey, always a mouthful.
About 5:20. Little bit of light starting in the sky. Look at that. I'm here in the pre-dawn hours to climb a mountain in Colorado called Mount Neva. Never heard of it? Well, neither have most people. It's not a 14er, it's not even a 13er, and at just over 12,900 feet, there are 751 mountains in Colorado that are taller at the summit than Mount Neva. But mountains can't be judged on their summit elevations alone, and I think there's a pretty good chance that I will have Mount Neva all to myself, even though it sits within one of America's most heavily used wilderness areas. If you've ever been to the northern part of the Denver metro area and looked west on a clear day at those beautiful snowy peaks, chances are you're looking at the Indian Peaks. Established in 1978, the Indian Peaks Wilderness Area now protects just under 78,000 acres. And being so close to Denver and also bordering the nation's fourth busiest national park, which is Rocky Mountain National Park, the Indian Peaks Wilderness Area is very heavily visited. One of the things I'm hoping that this video can demonstrate is that if you want it, solitude can still be found fairly easily even in one of the most heavily used wilderness areas in America, with a little bit of research and a willingness to head off trail. So now it's just shy of 6 o'clock in the morning, and turned off my headlamp about 10 minutes ago. It's this time of day, dawn or dusk. When you have to think about the possibility that there may be a desperate mountain lion somewhere just watching me, just trying to decide. My route to the summit of Mount Neva started on the west side of the Indian Peaks Wilderness near the town of Fraser from the Junco trailhead. I'm showing the route here on the OnX Backcountry app, which I use myself and I highly recommend. Most of the route here is on a good trail which goes up to and a little bit beyond Columbine Lake. Above the lake, you reach a saddle, and then the trail disappears, and the rest of the route is a little bit more than a mile on the northwest ridge to the Mount Neva summit. As you can see here, this shows a route of approximately 4.7 miles each way and an elevation gain of just under 2,800 feet. In reality, it's closer to 10.5 miles round trip because the point-to-point navigation on this app is going to underestimate the actual distance, which is a little more windy as you go up the trail. The Northwest Ridge is the easiest route to the summit of Mount Neva. That final mile or so off trail is about a Class 2, maybe a Class 2 plus scramble. There is a pretty interesting Class 4 on the Northeast Ridge, which is accessed from the east side of the wilderness area on the Arapahoe Pass Trail. Now look at that. Is that a moose? It is. Look at that. Look at that bull moose. Just laying down, looking at me.
It's just perfect that this guy is sitting right behind the wilderness boundary. Just so iconic.
All right, it's 7:30 and I made it to Columbine Lake. What a beautiful spot. Talking a little quiet because there's some campers on the other side of the lake, but man, look at this. I believe my route kind of goes up here to the saddle and then up this way, I believe, to Mount Neva, which is up there. Sun. Right over the top of Mount Neva. That's where I'm going, right there, right in that sun. All right, it's just past 8 o'clock and I've made it to the northwest saddle, which is the approach to Mount Neva, which is back there in the sun glare somewhere. No one else up here. It's just beautiful. The off-trail Northwest Ridge Summit approach is a fairly steep Class 2 Plus trailless scramble with its fair share of loose rock and talus, and a little bit of avoidable exposure on the left. Check out this one tree up here. It's like, seems way above timberline. That's just one really hardy tree. Just crested the summit ridge on the Continental Divide, Lake Dorothy below. You can see the trail for Arapahoe Pass there. And then panning around here, right ahead here, just a couple hundred feet up, is the summit of Mount Neva, which is where we're headed. Just looking out with the GoPro here, that water down there is an unnamed lake, still got ice on it. And then just kind of looking over here, we can see how steep this side of Mount Neva is. Just these cliffs going down. And then that's where I came up there. It looks kind of flattish here, but over the hump there, it's pretty steep. That's where I came up there. And then Lake Dorothy there. Big snow cornice down there. I'm sure that's there year round. All right. We're at the summit of Mount Neva. It's a little more exposed. That summit top 10 feet became blocky and a little bit of a scramble. Lens is fogging up. But anyways, here we are. 12,823 feet, beautiful view of Lake Dorothy below us, the Indian Peaks out there. One of the reasons I wanted to summit this mountain is because it's named after an Arapaho chief named Neva. He was the brother of Chief Niwot, otherwise known as Chief Left Hand. And he's a fascinating person because his fate is unknown. We know that he didn't end up in the reservation, but he probably died in battle, or he may have just blended into society until he died of old age or something. But he's just a fascinating character. But that's one reason why I wanted to climb this peak, because it's named after a historical figure that just really interests me. So the uphill here was strenuous and the downhill is tedious. A lot of loose stuff and very steep. that guy down. One more boulder field over there. That's the saddle. Yeah, so that's what I just down climbed. Pretty steep, but easier than it looks actually. Not too bad. Back on trail. Sort of. Whew, windy. So here's Mount Neva from a distance, and you can see there's the saddle and most of the summit push, although the summit is behind that a little bit. There's a fuller view. So what do you do after an 11-mile summit climb on no sleep? Well, you find a nice dispersed campsite and set up your hammock. There's nothing better.